Welcome, Solara here. I hope you guys are doing well. Um, Thank you for your patience with me, and thank you for your beautiful responses to the message I posted yesterday. I was actually, the reason why I reached out was because I actually had every intention of coming back here at the end of the week, because I did receive a whole bunch of downloads that I wanted to share with the collective on Friday. But I had a whole bunch of things come up, and then I was facing a lot of resistance over the weekend. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and pretend that the resistance is gone, because it's not going anywhere soon. But, we have to make our choices sometimes, working with our guides as to what is there for us to rest against and what is there for us to war against. And over the weekend, I was told to rest, but then I've also been guided to come on and to share parts of the downloads before retreating again, because the energies that are occurring right now, they're very intense. They're very intense. It's very intense to try and not even to try. It's very intense to delve into collective energies as they are right now, especially if you are in a situation where you are also dealing with a lot of personal attacks as well as the collective attacks. So with that, I try to be very, very careful and aware for the preservation of my own energy for myself as I wrap up a major karmic cycle, but also with the very clear, understanding and understanding that I am here also to help you guys. I am, and it's my pleasure to do so. It's my pleasure to be able to be used as a vessel to deliver messages that help to set the captives free, because that's what I came here to do. So I am learning the fine line between serving myself and serving others, because obviously and this is the energy of Aries and Libra, guys, in general. So this is a lesson we're all being invited to come in and learn in different degrees in accordance with our own life path and experiences. But the Aries and the Libra energy are all about finding the balance. Aries energy, it's finding the balance within self in order that we can be of use collectively. And the Libra energy is taking the energy of the balanced self in order for it to go out and to serve the wider collective. And when I say wider collective, I'm talking about with the Libra energy, it begins with, romantic partnerships, business partnerships. It's all the way we take our balanced self and our own value, and we take it out into the world, and we can begin to share from a balanced state. So I say all of that because I am here today to share with you some of the downloads, and then I will be retreating again, because this full moon, guys, is really heavy. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. I mean, I never do, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This full moon is very, very heavy, and there's a reason for that. And I'm going to take the time to share with you what my guides have shown me tonight about the energies that we're dealing with right now. But before I begin, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Thank you for all the ways that you have sown into me and the growth of this channel. I believe we just hit 6K last week. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for your donations. Thank you to the two beautiful souls that just donated decks last week. I did receive them, the Dragon Path and the Sword of Light Oracle. They're beautiful decks, and I can't wait to use them in our collective readings, especially as things begin to settle a little bit more. Yes, thank you for being here. Thank you if you're returning. Welcome if you're new. If you vibe with my energy, I welcome you to subscribe and to even hit the notification bells if you want to know when I post. But other than that, yeah, I'm going to get into this. So the message that was coming through was hold your divine stance. Hold your divine stance. I'm going to ask Spirit to really help me to be able to deliver this message in a very grounded way, and in a way that connects with the truth that any of you are seeking to find in the message tonight, because there's a lot of confusion right now. There's a lot of confusion, and it's coming in from so many different angles, and there's so many different reasons why it's happening, and I don't want to be carried away in too many directions and miss the meat of the message. So I might be coming back to this sentence: hold your divine stance. So the last time we were together, the message was all about how we had to sacrifice our matrix identity in order to take full claim of our divine I am truth. And now what you're being asked to do is to take that divine I am truth, crown yourself into it, lock yourself into your throne, and don't budge for anything or anybody. And the reason why this message is coming through so clearly right now is because my guides were showing me something very interesting about the equinox energy. The equinox energy is like, in its, it's supposed to be about resetting. It's an energy of reset where everywhere, like the light and the dark is equal, right? There's an equal amounts of light and dark in the day. And in the northern hemisphere, it signifies that the days are getting, they've reached their a midpoint since the solstice, and they're going to continue to get longer up until the summer solstice in the northern, where the days are going to get shorter, or the light's going to decrease again. So, and then in the southern hemisphere, it's the other way around. But I've noticed something really interesting about the equinox energies, because, divinely, seasonally, they're here to reset and to help us to come into balance again, because it's a major seasonal shift. So the equinox, the spring equinox, whether you're in the southern or the northern hemisphere, is about moving from winter to spring. So that's a big seasonal transition. And the autumn equinox, whether you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere, is about the moving from summer to autumn, another big shift, seasonally speaking. And so the equinox energy is here to help us to find the balance also in the midst of that. And even nature will show you that. So in the northern hemisphere right now, because we're shifting from winter to spring, winter is supposed to be when we slow down a little bit, we're in hibernation mode, we're not quite as active. And so the plants that start to show up, if you live in the northern hemisphere, are all about resetting your system, about helping your, especially your organs of elimination, to get them moving properly. And why is that? Because we are at a time, especially if you are not even looking at, the energies of planets, but you're just looking at the planetary energies. Aries energy is about the circulation of energy. So Aries physiologically rules over the head. And therefore, it's also over our crown chakra. But Aries physiologically is also over veins and arteries. And your veins and your arteries are how blood is pumped around your body. And so the Aries energy is really about finding the balance within self, especially through the reclamation of your divine I am truth, in order to learn how to accrue that value and learn how to now circulate it in a way that is beneficial to keeping yourself in balance, so that the Libra energy can help you then also take that out collectively. So this is where we are right now. We are learning how to own our own energy again, and learning how to keep it in balance in a way that serves self, while not being selfish. And being selfish isn't a bad thing. That's also I don't know, my daughter put it really well one time. She said, they tell you not to be full of yourself, but who else are you supposed to be full of? And that's a really good point. But you know what I mean. It's here to show us how to look after our own energy in a way that we are not compromising self, and we therefore cannot be compromised. That's ultimately what it's supposed to show us, right? Now, The spells around this recent equinox were really, really interesting. And I say that because every equinox is about a reset for us. But what I'm noticing with these energies is that this is also where they would come in and snatch what it was that we've been building towards. It's an energy of where you might have been waiting for something new to happen in the past, or you'd been building something and all of a sudden, everything would begin to fall down. It's because, this is how my guides show me, it's because like in the collective energy, one of the collective spells they had going on in the matrix was that you only got to go so far before you would get dragged back to the beginning. And the only way out of that loop was to elevate into one of their, oftentimes their orders and their societies is what put these people at the top of the pyramid. But those of us who were not at the top of the pyramid, in the matrix pyramid scheme, Ponzi scheme, we were constantly being put through cycles, taken to the brink and brought back. Now, if you're a targeted individual, that was obviously way worse. If you were a targeted individual in the last couple of years, it's been even crazier. But I say all of that because I challenge you now to go back to the equinox energies and to pay attention and to see if the times where you were building something and it would crumble were around the spring and the autumn equinox, or within a couple of weeks around those energies, because you might find that there's a deep connection between the reset of what the equinox should be versus the matrix magic of what they made it out to be. Because remember, the matrix was based upon the inverse of divine order. Everything was back to front. Okay, so I say all of that because this equinox energy is designed to get you to release. That is the right word, because somebody said to me something about that word and I didn't get it, and I thank you for that, because release means to take something back on. So because like a lease, like you're lending something, or you are hiring something out, or you're paying for something. To release it means to do it again. So that's another spell that I have to break too. But I say all of that because where was I going with this? I might have to pull myself back in. I'm sorry, guys. Tonight I'm doing my best in the midst of really heavy energies to try to keep my focus too. So the reason I'm saying all of this, it will come back if I just start talking again, but I don't want to miss anything. That's another thing. Okay, so what I was going to share with you is that the reason why, 1:11 on my clock, the reason why these equinox energies have been so intense also is because they wanted to, with this reset energy, in the past, what they were able to do with it was to get you into a state of fear in order to then come in and shake your apple tree and to steal your fruit. And this time around, it's like they're shaking your apple tree. And the only way they can get your fruit is if you sign on to an old matrix identity by believing something about yourself that's not true. And every time you believe something about yourself that's not true and you act on it and you own it, you begin to take yourself out of divine alignment. And whenever we take ourselves out of divine alignment, we begin to open our fields. Now, the measure to how much we open our fields is the measure to which, like how much we betray self or that divine truth. But so what they're ultimately wanting to do in this energy, all the spells, all the confusion spells, the attacks against finances, the attacks against whatever it is you're building. The reason they wanted to do that, the reason they were even trying to do it, and they're still trying to do it, is in order to put you in a state of fear and dependence so that you shrink back and you think, oh, this was all, I can't do this. This was all, this was crazy of me to think I'm this person, or I'm this being, or I'm capable to do this, and I'll never be able to get out of this. And it wants to, it wants to reprogram you back into despair. It wants to reprogram you back into states of despondency, so that you then shrink your energy field and they can come in and take your fruit. Because they can only come in and take your fruit if you stay in states of constriction. So not if you are afraid and you find your way out, but if you stay and you believe and you add to the energy of that by believing it, and you begin to grow that energy, that's how they come in and take it. So in other words, they've always used our ability to take an energy and magnify it and create something against us. So instead of taking your divine energy, they want to take it for themselves and plant fear in you, so you grow that and it becomes your reality. That's how they kept the matrix alive. Now, why would they do that, right? Why do they need to do that? Well, for many reasons. But the reason that my team are wanting to talk to us about this energy tonight is because at the end of the last video, I began to speak a little bit about this doppelganger energy that had been coming up. And it was coming up for me in regards to, what was going on last week when I was talking about sacrificing your matrix identity in order to, make it out of the matrix and get your divine I am truth and to live in that reality. I was picking up on that energy, but I wasn't fully getting why until later in the week. And what they were showing me is that some of your divine and true energy signature, some of you, your true divine energy signature has been cloaking prominent figures in our society for decades. Your true divine energy signature has been cloaking prominent figures in our society for decades. And the only way they're able to cloak themselves in your true divine energy signature is if you're not claiming it, is if you weren't wearing it, is if you were disregarding it and taking on something that wasn't yours. And when I say disregarding it, I'm not saying you were doing it on purpose. Because we all came through the veil of amnesia. We all came through the veil of forgetfulness. None of us knew who we were. And that is kind of the point too. For as long as we were not remembering, for as long as we were not calling back into our reality who we truly are, we were opening our fields for all of that to be taken. And not only were we doing that, but we were being placed in situations purposely to condition and program us into states that would cause us to automatically do that without even thinking about it. And the purpose of that, the collective spell they had us all under, was in order to harvest our energy to cloak other individuals. And the way that a lot of the time they got access to the ability to do that in the first place was through their orders, through their blood oaths, and all other manner of ways they are able to connect with your divine DNA. There are other ways that are very obvious, but I'm not going to put them out there because y'all are all very intelligent. How they access DNA. You figure that one out. But the point is that, I've been doing readings now with you guys for we're in April now. So just over 3 months, 4 months. 4 months I've been around. And we've talked about this, binding people astrally and all this other stuff. And, how the injuring of a soul gives access, all of this stuff. And we're going to get in a little bit more tonight, because what they were showing me, when they first started to show me this, it's just heavy. When they first started to show me this, I was just like, I wouldn't say I was amazed. I was, because nothing really amazes me about the levels of wickedness at this point. But I was saddened. I will say that. I was saddened. And the truth is, this is where we are. The closer we get to the breakthrough, the more the root and dense energies are coming up. They have to be shifted. And we are in the final 5 degrees of the nodes being in Taurus and Scorpio, and the South Node in Scorpio. Those last 5 degrees of what it's unveiling, all of the shit that they've been hiding in order to keep us stuck by way of the occult and all other manner of knowledge they tried to keep secret from us. That's partly, the South Node in Scorpio energy. It's going to intensify, but I want you to also remember that the more this energy comes up and the more they try to hide it, the purpose of it divinely is to activate us deeper into our power. This is partly how we accrue the fullness of our power back. So remember that every time, the bigger the attack that comes in, the stronger the activation that's coming. So they're only going to attack you really hard when they've got something very big to lose. So there's been a huge switch. If you are one of these people who is really feeling these attacks because you're not only dealing with the collective energy, but it's happening to you on a personal front in a very big way too, then you'll know that there's been a real shift in how you're experiencing it too at this point. And that is that the closer you get to dispelling a lot of this for good, the more you recognize that you are actually, the more you welcome it, because you're in the driver's seat now, energetically speaking. Meaning that it was easy for them to attack your fields and for it to have a huge effect on you, even in the long term, when your fields weren't secure, when you didn't know who you were, when you weren't fighting for yourself, when you couldn't see the strategy or the point of the attacks. You couldn't see yourself leveling up. But there's been a switch for many of us. I know I can say for myself now, where I'm no longer really in tune with the fear anymore. It's not the most enjoyable thing, I'm not going to lie, but I know at this point that there's an activation on the other side, and I know that the sooner I search for the gift, the sooner the activation comes. And what that is also doing, I want you to know, I'm going to sidetrack and come back to this message that they gave me. What it's also doing is it's preparing us for the new Earth financial system. And I've spoken about this briefly. I think I posted about it also in one of the daily alchemy messages that I did put on the community board for you all to partake in last week. And that is that the new Earth financial system is based upon frequency. And your wealth frequency grows the more that you find the value in everything. So there is value in every single thing that we go through, whether we like it or not, whether we call it a mistake, a failure, which is all matrix lingo, it doesn't matter. There's value to be found in everything. And you will know, if you've learned the art of alchemy, you will know that the sooner you find the value, the sooner you're released to move to the next level. And this is why the matrix wanted us stuck in victim mindsets and suffering and struggle, where we didn't see that because we were so overwhelmed by the trauma, right? But the alchemy, the way out, is to find the lesson. And this has been preparing us for the new Earth financial system, because the more you're able to find the value in everything, the more your value increases. In other words, the more you're able to reconnect with the truth of who you are, and therefore your value, your real divine value, the more you're able to see the divine value in every single living thing. The more you're able to see the divine value in every living thing, the more your value in real time accrues. And why is that? Because we are not moving into a new earth as divine beings, creating the same problems that got us here to begin with. And one of the main problems is that the matrix taught us how to abuse. It taught us how to abuse self, it taught us how to abuse one another, and it taught us how to abuse Gaia. because that's the only way you could survive. And so we must undo that. So our value system, our wealth and abundance frequency, your I am wealth, your I am abundance, you're only able to grow that in value the more you connect with the fullness of your own value, and then demonstrate that in the way that you value others and everything that comes into your energy. So this is why we've been being taught how to alchemize these heavy energies, because if you're able to do that, then you're able to find the value in everything. And any one of you who's been through these really, really heavy cycles repeatedly knows that every time that you came out of these heavy cycles, if you are truly a divine being and an alchemist, that you came out valuing everything in your life more. That's the beauty of a divine being. When we're thrown these energies, we don't take them and throw them back. We learn new ways to appreciate the value in them. And that's part of choosing divinity. So back to this, doppelganger energy of what's been happening with the equinox and these spells. So the way that if they could shake your apple tree and get you to release your apples, the apples are what are your divine and your true energy signature that they were cloaking themselves in. So these ones were like, no, we won't compare them to fruit trees because they're not worthy. The point is that they were able to harvest your energy by getting you into states of fear that in reaction to the reset that they were enforcing upon you without your knowledge at the time. And because of that, it was pushing you into fear states and survival states, messing with your root chakra, because that's all how they were able to extract what it was they needed from you to then use it for themselves. And, you know, it's all an energy exchange. So they're giving you their fear because they're fear-based creatures, and they're having you cloak yourself in their energy while they cloak themselves in yours. So what's happening right now is the more you resist, because they're really trying to push that agenda onto you right now. They're trying to push the fear onto you. It's not even yours. If you take the time to connect and to really focus, you'll realize a lot of the time when you feel the fear, it's not even you, it's not yours. But they're trying to push the fear onto you because in a fear state, you're vulnerable because your energy is constricted. And you're not designed to be constricted because you're like a sponge that's full. You're like a sponge that's full, and they come in and squeeze you for your energy, for your life force, for your essence, right? And so they've been very feverish about this because a lot of their prominent figures are no longer able to cloak themselves. And what that means is that your rise in your truth and your power, it equates with the unveiling and therefore the impotency of those who've been shielding themselves in your energy. So this is working on so many ways, because for some of you, you've been providing divine protection to people and you didn't even know it. That's failing. There's no more protection for people who are stupid enough to continually steal and challenge the divine and think they can get away with it forever. There's no more for that, right? So so in other words, your rising into your power and your truth means that you are no longer able to be cloaked in this falseness. This is part of the age of Aquarius. And when you're no longer able to be cloaked in the energies that are false that you have been taking on, not realizing you're doing it, they must be returned to sender. So all of those who've been faking and pretending and using your energy to cloak themselves and to pretend that there's something they're not on this earth plane, their reality, their truth, their true cosmological reality, who they are in all of the cosmos outside of the matrix fuckery, is being revealed, because you are calling the truth of who you are cosmologically as a divine being here onto the earth plane. And as such, this is partially what is causing the fuckery to become dismantled. So what my guides were showing me is that the reason this full moon energy is so intense is because also of the spells they're casting. Okay, and if at any point the tracking on this video is fucked up again, I'm apologizing ahead of time, because I noticed when I took the vibrational scale that there was a moment where it looked like it could have paused for like half a second or whatever, and shifted, but it might not have. So I'm hoping it didn't, but I'm just putting it out there because I still upload the video either way, because I don't know about to get time for that. Okay. So what they're showing me is that a lot of what has been happening, because understand and overstand that the magic and the fuckery that they're throwing at you, it's like a cumulative effort, meaning that they didn't just start casting spells a few weeks ago. This is something they've been working on for a while. And this, I feel like, is one of their master plans right now, to try to alter the energies of ascension. I'm telling you, they're trying to, because they can't. And I know that they can't, because this message would not have come through to me if it were possible. Because once my guides start to reveal these things, once your guides start to reveal these things, once I deliver this message to you and you're just like, aha, my guides told me the same things, or aha, that sounds right and resonates in my soul, is the minute the spell continues to lose its potency and its ability to work effectively, which is partly the reason why there's been so much resistance against my coming back on here. Okay, so what it is, and the reason why this was so sad, because I didn't even realize this was possible. My guides had me watching this show, and whenever they make me watch a show, there's always something they want me to see. There's always something they want me to understand and overstand, and there oftentimes is a personal message in there for me I need to connect to, but there's also oftentimes a collective message, because it's all interconnected anyway. And so what they were showing me is, and how do I put this? What they were showing me is the lengths that these beings, I'll call them beings because, again, not all of them are humans, these beings went to in order to try and displace us. And when I say displace us, it's like they literally have been doing work since 2020, when they sense the shift in ascension, to get divine beings so uprooted, so stuck in survival mode, so under attack, because they wanted to come in and shift us entirely. And when I say shift us entirely, it's like they wanted, a lot of them have been harvesting our energy bit by bit, and they wanted, and this is very ambitious of them, but they, highly ambitious of them, they wanted to take the fullness of our essence. They wanted to take the fullness of our essence. They've been taking it bit by bit, but they wanted to come in and with one grand swipe, after doing all of that, shake us to a place where they can, it's almost like take it all. And a lot of them really believed that they could. And it's really interesting to me, because when my guides were explaining this to me, I'm like, but how do they think they can, when it's so clear that we've been fighting back? And it's almost like that energy of watching someone struggle and continue to come back to life, knowing full well that they're going to expire, but wanting to continually bring them back to life anyway, if that makes sense. It's almost like that's what they think they've been doing, because that's indeed what they were doing astrally. And it was working on the physical plane in that way too. They were taking us to the brink of death and yanking us back to start again. So progressing forward until we get to a certain place, and yanking it all away until we get to a state of real feeling very, very down and despairing, and then they'd send their suicide entities and all that other stuff, All of this was to constantly get us to separate from self, fragment ourselves, because that's what trauma does, until they could bring in one grand trauma and shake us entirely. But what they don't seem to realize is that in this time, it's 1:33 on my clock, their attacks would have only been able to do that if we didn't wake up. So while they've been thinking they've been kind of watching us and observing us, die and come back to life, and that they're ultimately in control, this is a very mechanism that the divine always decided was going to happen in order for us to connect with the truth of our gifts and to be fully activated back into our power. So what they're actually coming to do, and some of them are beginning to realize this now, and this is partly why their spells are falling apart to begin with, is what some of them are realizing now, and it's too late, because once you build up an energy, once you raise up an energy like this, there's not much you can do about it. So what's about to happen, so you're very aware, is that this energy has been building. It's going to continue to come. And what it's ultimately going to do is, because you're so firm in who you are divinely, and you did recover your I am truth, and they never expected you to, all of this is about to backfire on them in a very, very big and magnanimous way. And I say that because for some of you, you may have already been experiencing some of the backlash that's been happening to those around you, or those who have been fucking with your truth. You've seen some of the backlash, but that hasn't, it's not even it yet. That's just like, like the few drops that drip from a faucet before you turn the water on completely. Remember I told you, I think it was either last reading or the reading before, that my guides were showing me, like, there's a shared energy, and it's like a vacuum in between you and some of these energies, where it's still in the shared energy space, and it's almost like they're letting it grow there and mature there on purpose. And as such, because it's in your shared energy space with whoever this is that they've used on the human front to fuck with you, because there's always, even with especially with the collective spells and the energies, there are always people who contract themselves to for this energy to be operated through against you. And oftentimes there are people that are people that are close to you, and they are they're matrix spells. A lot of them, not a lot of them, some of them are even consciously aware that they're partaking in it, because they just think it's part of life, right? And that's not to excuse them, but that is the truth. But this energy has been building. It's been building within the fields that you share, the shared energy that you have with this person or these people. And the reason that's been happening it's been a dual purpose. For one thing, it's in order that, again, you can be activated by it to the fullness of your divine power. Okay? The fullness of it, not part of it, the fullness of it. It's here to build you up again. So every time they try to tear you down, when you find the value in it, you level up, right? And you break out of another level of the matrix. But what happens with them is that energy, it goes back a little bit to them too. And the point of it is to get them to repent. And repentance is simply coming back into divine order. And divine order, you're in divine order when you're no longer abusing yourself, abusing others, and abusing Gaia. That's one of the criteria for being in divine order. And I say that's one of the criteria because that's more for the people who are still in energies of abuse. For you, your divine order is going to be even higher than that. It's going to be valuing self, valuing others, valuing Gaia. For them right now, because the point is just to wake them up, it's the mercy. It's the mercy of the divine that even at this stage, people will wake up, is to stop abusing self, stop abusing others, and stop abusing the earth that sustains you. That's the purpose. Now, there is a limitation even to the mercy of the divine. And there comes a certain point when we reach a point on the timeline where we're not sacrificial lambs. Once we woke up and realized that that's how we've been used, it was over. It was over. And even that part served a purpose too. I'm not going to, again, I will never ever say that the abuse tactics of the Matrix were ever okay. That's not what I'm saying at all. But my point is that the sooner we woke up from it, and the sooner we were able to see who we are, and and draw whatever value, and when I say value, I mean the wisdom we accrued about our own value, not our power and our strength that came through abuse. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, because a lot of the time, unfortunately, the only way for us to be awoken into the truth of who we were and who we are, and not because it had to be this way, but because others chose for it to be this way, was for us to do it by way of pain. It didn't have to be that way. A lot of you were sent into families, especially, where your value could have been grown. And this is where it gets also very sad. Your value could have been grown in that family had they had the heart to love you divinely. Because really that's what you were sent here to show them how to do. Because if they were able to see your divine value in you and to help you grow it instead of exploit it, they'd be by your side right now and they would have reconnected with their own divine truth and value. But because they chose to exploit and squander and sacrifice you in a myriad of ways, this is why now they're not moving forward with you. But we all have free will. So again, it wasn't that we had to learn by way of being in these situations with these people and being hurt. But it's like this whole situation was designed in such a way that there was always a way out for us, even if it had to be by way of pain. And this is not me minimizing anyone's experience, because I've been through my fair share of abuse that woke me the fuck up. But would I have preferred to have been woken up by people who valued me and reflected that back to me without me having to fight for my value? Hell yes. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So I say all of this now to come back to this full moon stuff, because a lot of the magic they've been using is what would be considered to be forbidden magic. Meaning that even these assholes that have no boundaries when it comes to, respecting other people's energy, it's even the few boundaries they have gone past. So if they had any it's almost like this energy of, oh, we got nothing to lose now. We may as well just pull out all of the big guns. And that's what they've been doing. But this isn't something they've just been doing in the past few months, guys. This is something that's been going on for years. Okay, from the time that you begin hearing things about the certain rituals and stuff that happen in order for certain people in prominence to get to where they are. This is the reason why, because these are sacrifices for forbidden forms of magic. And there's a reason. But the thing is that, and this is another thing, and I hope I'm not all over the place tonight, but this is another thing, 44:04 on the timer, 44 minutes in. The more they do things that are forbidden, or when I say forbidden, I mean it's so outside of order that it's stupid for your own survival, even their own survival. It's stupid, right? The more you veer in that energy, whether it's collectively with that or even towards you on a personal level, meaning that there are some people right now who are casting spells against you who've been told you're stupid to do that. You shouldn't mess with this kind of magic, or you shouldn't mess with this person anymore because they've woken up. That's the level of stupidity I'm talking about. But the thing about it is that when they begin to mess with that kind of energy where it's quote unquote forbidden, because of the sheer terror it could bring back on them because of taking everything so far out of balance, and possibly on others, but really even on them, this is where they actually force ascension in faster. So many of you have been hearing, I'm sure, about this solar flare energy, this grand solar flash, rather, that they've been talking about. And I'm of a few opinions when it comes to this grand solar flash, because on the one hand, you know, I think it's a beautiful thing. On the one hand, I do. But on the other hand, I also know our propensity as human beings who've been stuck in this matrix thing to look for a sign, 144, or to look for a savior, or, you know, there's a very fine line between searching the skies for something to happen and searching our hearts and bringing that change in. So the way I've always seen the solar flash is that as the sun activates us, we bring the activations in faster. And I say all of that because they're unleashing this level of heaviness upon the collective is actually what is activating that energy quicker. It's bringing in this energy of what they call the grand solar flash. This energy that they are, this is why it's really quite stupid of them to do this, right? Because they're actually bringing in their own demise faster. But they're gambling now. Apparently they don't care. It's worth it. And yeah. So this magic, this forbidden magic, a lot of it's connected to birth charts in terms of what's happening with this full moon, at least. It's connected to your birth charts and the powers of equinox. We're supposed to separate you from your true self once again in order for your energy to be stolen for another or others. So a lot of these beings that have been cloaking they're quite desperate right now, whether they're people who were energy vampires, succubi energies in your fields like that you knew, or whether you, like I said, were one of those people whose divine and true energy signature has been cloaking prominent figures in society and you didn't even realize. I mean, you did realize. Your soul realized, but consciously, maybe you didn't realize until recently. Maybe you're going to realize tonight through this message. Who knows? So the effects of this working was supposed to roll out on April Fools. I don't know if you guys remember, but a few readings back, I was picking up on this April Fool's energy, and I started to do a little bit of research, and I forgot about it until they brought me back to it on Friday, and they were just like, this is what we were talking about, this April Fool's energy. The April Fool's energy is the energy of, it's a few days after the equinox, where the Fool's journey begins. So they have us going through the energies of being the Fool. But they want us stuck being the Fool, not ever getting to the Magician. Because up until recently, they had, because the matrix system works on an inverse, right? So they reversed you as a magician. They reversed you into the inverse matrix system. So they would then take your tools and use your tools against you. Use your tools against you. Those are a whole bunch of other downloads I'm not going to get into right now. So the effects of this working, the equinox energies, oftentimes they begin to take effect on April Fool's Day. April 1st, April Fool, right? Wrong. As you can see, it didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. In fact, for many of them, they got a surprise over the weekend about the truth of who you actually are. And not just the truth of who you are, but what is actually happening for you. You see, a lot of them tried last week, especially, they tried to poke to see if they could get back in. If their equinox magic had been working in the moving up to the April Fool's Day. And they got a rude awakening when they realized how far that you've actually come on the ascension. That's a message for some of you. So even the changing of the time on the equinox is all designed to disturb your energetic equilibrium also. It's designed to mess with your circadian cycles, to also get you in a state where you're more harvestable again. Because again, the more you are out of self or imbalanced, the more that what they can throw on you can stick. This is why they try to purposely keep everyone in constant states of imbalance. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to decide if I want to go into all of these downloads tonight. Bear with me a second, because we're going to get back into this energy of like looking at Virgo. Let's make this part of it short, because maybe I'll get into the last bit of the downloads. I did a reading not long ago, and I forget the name of it, but it was talking about this Pisces Virgo axis and all the ways they use it around the moons to intensify. And actually, as I record it, we're in the Virgo moon. And the Virgo energy is over the 6th house. It is the last house of self. It is the house where we have accrued the value of the 5th house, which is also to do with your solar plexus. We've accrued the value. The Virgo energy comes in to show us how to use it in ways that help us in our day-to-day life. And it's also there to protect us before we step into the Libra energy and we take our energy and circulate it with another or others. The Virgo is like a guardian energy. It's a stop point. Now, the reason we're going back into that is because the Virgo energy is very much to do with your circadian system. It's about the regulation of how you experience time. So it's very connected to Virgo. You could say it's also connected to Saturn energy because of that. So the Virgo is the guardian of your solar plexus. Your solar plexus is guarded by mother energies on both sides. So Leo is over your solar plexus because that's the sun. And it's guarded by mother energies on both sides, by Cancer and by Virgo. They're bookend energies of protection. Virgo is the guardian of your solar plexus, which then allows for you to kind of go out into the world and to feel safe and to protect yourself. The Virgo energy shows you how to protect your value before you take it out into the world. But it's also the energy which allows for us to, to balance circulation. Okay, so this is why so much is done around this energy. And the Virgo energy was such a potent one that they used during the age of Pisces, because obviously Virgo is Pisces' sister energy. So the point was to get us following schedules, because Virgo is very big on showing us how to utilize the power of our own value by organizing ourselves, by creating schedules that are in alignment with our own value system and how we circulate that in the world and what it is that our value is in the world. And to that extent, Virgo energy helps us to become organized with our schedules, with the personal, daily, monthly, annual rituals that we go through for self in the maintenance and the growing of that energy. That's what Virgo is about. So the point was to, again, the matrix is all about inverting these things. So the point was to utilize the power of the Virgo energy to get us following schedules and rituals that are foreign to our own individual energy. So they use the Virgo energy to manipulate us into collective practices that, because they're collective practices and we were designed to be individuals, and our value as divine beings is exemplified by our ability to connect with our individuality and our own individual purpose. They had us under a collective spell utilizing the Virgo energy, whereby all of the rituals and schedules we did were actually forms of self-betrayal. And even if they weren't directly forms of self-betrayal, what they were designed to do was to keep you distracted from your ability to create a schedule for self that is in alignment with your own value and your truth. So in other words, a lot of the way we schedule ourselves is based upon how we've been programmed, from the fact that we think that weekends are for rest, and we're supposed to be up a certain time of day and all this other stuff. That seems like in our minds, oh, that's order and everything, but not everyone is designed to be the same, if you are a person who has the ability to channel through dreams and do all of that stuff, then you know that your sleep cycle probably alternates and changes in accordance with what it is that spirit is wanting to share with you. And once upon a time, that position was reverenced. You were considered to be a dreamer, and you were a community helper and healer. And as such, your schedule was based around your ability to dream. And even if we take it out of the context of that, if you are to be a being who's led by spirit, then you cannot be led by schedules that contradict what it is you need to be doing divinely, which means that it is actually you with spirit who needs to set your schedule, not the overall collective energy. And the point of this Virgo energy, the collective spell they used, was to do that. And part of the changing of the time and the calendars and all of this stuff is to get us into that. So in other words, anytime we choose to follow another's instructions for our path over our own, we step out of divine alignment and we open our energy fields to be commanded. I'm going to say it again. Anytime we choose to follow another's instructions for our path over our own. So this is not saying you can't be guided by someone else, but if you follow their instructions over your own, intuition or your own better judgment, you are stepping out of alignment and opening your energy fields to be commanded. Okay? So in other words, the schedules, routines, milestones, and societal, familial, and institutional norms were created to set us on a hamster wheel of suffering. It's supposed to be there, and the equinox energies are there to pull us right back in. Are they back on the hamster wheel? Reset! Not this time, assholes. Meanwhile, they allow others access to our true energy, because every time they do the reset, they're taking our energy. So the way that others get access is by the pledging to these orders, the sick things they do. The higher they go, the more access they have, the more sick shit they do to get that access. It's all about energy harvesting and stealing. So their orders is what gives them ranking in the matrix. So in order to rank high in the matrix, you've got to be really good at causing others pain, because ultimately the matrix system was a energy harvesting model whereby you get rewards for keeping the pain structure going, for keeping the abusive cycles going. You get rewarded for that. And the thing about it is that many of these individuals thought that for as long as they were at the top of the wheel, harvesting other people's energy and therefore living off of their pain, that they were living pain-free existences. But that's not true, because anytime you inflict that inflict something like that on someone else, you're also inflicting it upon self. So in order to hurt someone, you have to be a hurt person. Hurt people, right? And this is why we've been called to heal. And this is how it's all connected to the value system, because this is for every energy. If you value yourself, you value others, and you'll value Gaia. Because you cannot value yourself and not value Gaia, or value others, because you're not valuing self. Excuse me, because you are in everyone, and you are Gaia. So by default, when you truly value yourself, this is why it can't be faked. You value everything. Same thing with the hurting people. You cannot abuse another person without ultimately abusing self. Or you cannot abuse another person have you not already abused self. Right? And people who abuse Gaia are people who abuse self, because if you are abusing the earth that sustains you, how are you looking out for yourself? So the irony is that many of these people were sending their suicide entities to come and try to get you to destroy yourself, because that is actually the energy that they are. They are suicidal. They are self-destructive at the core, more so than you could have ever been with all of that stuff being projected at you, which is quite ironic, because some of you got stuff really projected on you really badly, and you acted out in response to that. I know I did. And even in that, it's not as bad as the energy that is theirs. Because that was their projection. All of that suicide energy to destroy, all of that, it was theirs. It was theirs. It was part of how they were getting. It was part of how they were getting what they were getting in order to rank high in the matrix. And indeed, I did this in the March report. I'm trying to remember the exact energy, but there was a message that was coming through in the, if you're in the Daily Alchemy members portal, or you got the March report. I'll see if I remember to find it, or if I can comment about it, or maybe in the next reading. But there was an energy coming through that this Aries, as the nodes move into Aries, we're going to start seeing and hearing a lot about people who are in, you thought were in high positions. You're going to hear more about suicides. You're going to hear more about it, because as you leap, as you do the full energy of leaping off the edge of the cliff, you do that in faith, because you know the divine is going to catch you. Energy always has, it's like the Two of Pentacles and the infinity sign. There's always another energy that's playing out, that is the reflection. So in other words, when you jump off your cliff in a leap of faith, you take a chance on yourself, because you know you're divine. You're not taking stupid chances. You're taking a chance because you know you're divine. You're in divine alignment. You're divinely guided. You know the universe has you. The minute that you do that, you have completely divested yourself of the matrix identities. And the ones who are truly the entities that were cloaking themselves in your energy, they take back all of that suicide energy they've been projecting towards you to get you to give up your divine truth. So as such, you're going to hear a lot more of an increase, especially with those who've been doppelganging. Suicide is going to become, and when I say suicide is not always, we're talking about energy here, so it doesn't always culminate in the act. I'm talking about pure self-destruction. Pure self-destruction. Because ultimately that's what the final act of suicide is supposed to be, a complete taking out of. But there are many things that lead into that to grow that energy, right? Full self-destruction. Some of them have been throwing you this energy from the time you were a child. Can you imagine the buildup that's returning to them now that you leap off the cliff into your divine I am truth? And they get back all the entities they've been throwing at some of you for decades. that have been sitting down in the shared energy waiting for that moment. Yeah. Yep. So they had to keep us all at an energy deficit in order to keep themselves above. So those people who love to look down on you, especially the ones that were your watchers, your ops that were contracted to keep you feeling like low and living below your value by constantly looking down on you and finding ways to push you down, right? They had to do that. They had to keep you at an energy deficit in order to keep themselves ranking higher than you in the matrix. It really is some Hunger Game shit, okay? There was also, I don't know if I'm going to get into this download. Should I get into this download? There's some stuff that's been coming up about return of the gods and the goddesses. Because once upon a time, in ancient Egyptian history, they say that a lot of their pharaohs, for example, were the gods, were the deities. And there's been more coming through recently about that for me, and about how they fragmented those energies in order to do what they did. And part of their sending the artifacts all around the world to different institutions has been an act of ritual shaming that, that wasn't a good idea. That wasn't a good idea. But I won't get into, as I get more downloads, I will share that information. But everything of divine nature is coming back into divine order, which does not fare well for any of them who created the energies of fuckery to make this matrix system possible, and definitely does not fare well for those who are holding on right now and continuing to try to keep it alive. So back to they had to keep us all at an energy deficit in order to keep themselves in a false sense of being above, in order to rank higher. This is also why they created systems of debt and indebtedness. So the banking systems were built upon the foundations of this energy harvesting model too. And as you reclaim your energy, the banks that have failed to enter into New Earth contracts will fall. Some of them already are. Same with all the platforms that haven't made that shift too. So again, because a lot of these corporations, banks, platforms are actually grand energy harvesting systems, they were invited to make a shift for the New Earth. They have all manner of plea deals that have occurred, and some of them will survive under new management, and some will die entirely, okay? But that's coming into effect as you pull back your energy, as you take a leap off of the cliff and you become the fool jumping into the truth of who you are and leaving behind who you aren't. As you do that and you pull your energy back from these energy harvesting systems, they're falling. And this is what the Libra energy of the 16-degree mark is also. It's all this full moon, this whole Aries season is preparation. The energies that are happening now, it's like they're shaking the earth and preparing us for the grand shift that the nodes moving into Aries and Libra are going to bring. And there will be changes because it's cardinal energy. It gets shit going. The Taurus and the Scorpio energy, it was very good for shaking out the really stubborn energies, because it's fixed energy and you're going through the nodes which go backwards, right? But when you hit that Aries, that Libra energy, it's time to clear out what Taurus and Scorpio showed us so we can move forward now. And so this is why there's so much intensity around Aries season, and it's going to continue. I can't even tell you it's going to stop when the nodes switch. All I can tell you is this is a precursor for it all, and we're all in a pressure cooker right now. But for those of you who've done the work and are choosing to sacrifice the false identities to step into your divine truth and step into divine order, the towers are here once again in order to clear the pathway for your chariot, because the towers have to occur for you to get back your energy. So it doesn't feel good, you know, like you feel you are being shaken right now. But that is in order for you to rise into the fullness of your power, and that's required to get back everything that's been taken. So as far as like the fall of these, you know, banks and everything, it may happen quite rapidly for some of you, especially those who face great energy attacks due to this equinox magic. In other words, those of you who've experienced a great deal of pulling back because of this equinox magic, think of it like the Sagittarian energy of the Archer, which is 8 of Wands, 9 of Wands, 10 of Wands. You're here to break a cycle, and the cycle doesn't want to let you go, but it has to. So no amount of shaking your apple tree is going to get you to release your apples, for as long as you know that this is what's actually happening and you hold your divine stance. Okay? So for as long as you hold on to your truth, they don't get access to your fields. And this is why they attack you on every front, to cause energetic disruptions designed to split you from your I am truth. And they also use a lot of mental magic. So this is speaking about what happened in the past, you know, like what's been like 2 weeks since we're coming up on 2 weeks since the equinox and the new moon in Aries. So the whole point was to split you. For some people, it was to split them before they even access their I am truth. For those of you who have accessed your I am truth, it's to split you from that. And to that extent, they introduced like things that would bring trauma to your fields. And then they compounded that with a whole bunch of collective mental magic to get you stuck in illusion and doubting and questioning yourself and your ability to move past. But that was all an illusion. And the minute you see the illusion and you speak the truth against the illusion must shatter. Okay? So it's all about feeding you an illusion about who they need you to be. So all of this is about trying to get you to sign on to contracts that cloak you in a false matrix identity based upon an illusion that they need you to be in order for them to harvest. They cannot continue to energy harvest off of you if you are not cloaked in the illusion. Because if you have gathered back your energy, they have nothing to cloak themselves in. It was an exchange. They were giving you their shit and taking your gold. And now you're giving their shit back and you're taking back your gold, and you're telling them, learn how to be a fucking alchemist too, just like I had to. Okay? So, they need to feed you an illusion about who they need you to be in order to continue energy harvesting, because they need that energy for their banks, their prominent figures that have been cloaking. They've been cloaking in this energy that they've been stealing from you for as long as you weren't taking chances on the truth of who you are. They've been profiting from it, and they've been building their false empires off the backs of divine beings. And this is even why in the book of Revelation it talks about this. This is the grand whore of Babylon and its merchant system that the book of Revelation was referring to, that has drunk the blood of divine beings. The blood is our life force. The whole of this system was based upon the sacrifice and the harvesting of divine energy. And the minute you step into your divine truth and you call it back is the moment all of those things start to crumble. But they don't just let go of it easily. This is why you've had to continue fighting. But for every time they've tried to come into your fields and take it back, and every time you've stood against them, every time you've got back more. So they've been becoming progressively weaker, and you're becoming progressively stronger in your truth. And as such, when they're coming to you with all of this energy that they have been harnessing or they have been raising for this ritual, although it may be very intense energy, it's energy that's also it's intensely weak on their end. And when I want to be very careful when I say this. So you can harness a very strong energy that can still work against you, because the intent behind your belief in it isn't as strong, if that makes sense, because you don't have a reason to believe in it anymore. It doesn't stop the force of the energy, but it means that that energy is going to be turned back on you now. It's not going to be strong enough to reach your target, but it will come back on you, if that makes sense. So I say all of this because right now, your main priority, especially if this message is speaking to you, needs to be grounding yourself, affirming yourself, looking after yourself. You don't have to be especially, well, you defend yourself the way you feel you need to, energetically speaking, you know, with whatever workings you feel you need to be doing right now. But don't be afraid of this. We're past the point where we're supposed to be afraid of it. At this point, if this reading is resonating with you, many of us should be in a space where even if we have some fear, it's, well, most of the time it's not even your fear. It's their fear that they feel about, oh my gosh, your trepidation of what it is they're going to do. But receive it. Receive it for the activation and the value it has, because ultimately that's not what they want you to do. They're trying to pull you into a state of fear, and you've got nothing to be afraid of. Nothing to be afraid of. Nothing. Anyway, I hope that I have articulated this. Well, I'm getting you guys an abundance angels card. Stay abundant. And when I say abundant, I mean abundance is a frequency. It's got nothing to do with money. Money is a thing of the matrix. And yes, it's an important part of our ability to feel good. But abundance is deeper than that. Abundance is your ability to live life on your own terms in a way that brings honor to your soul, that allows your soul to feel free and good and can expand and, do what you came here to do, which is ultimately, outside of the matrix enslavement system. This earth realm was designed for us to come and experience ourselves, our souls, in physical bodies. You're not supposed to be here suffering and struggling. They don't want you knowing that. Because the minute you know that and you really believe it and live like you believe it and take chances like you believe it, you break the matrix. Block out distractions. Your life purpose and other priorities need your undivided attention. So it's time for you to take charge of your schedule and working environment by turning off electronics and avoiding anyone or anything that distracts you from what's important. You already know what these distractions are, and you have the power to responsibly block them out. Okay, so for some of you, the message coming through right now is that it is time for you to retreat around this full moon, and the retreating is about protecting your energy, because your energy is your abundance. So it is about that. It's about really keeping yourself clear from the intrusion of energies that would seek to try and take you out of balance or out of divine order in any way, shape, or form. That's really what it's about, being very scrupulous in what you're allowing into your energy fields right now. And we've got into that in the last reading about, checking where, like filtering and checking every thought, every desire, every feeling that's coming through right now. Is it you? Because it's only going to be you if it's in alignment with divine truth. Everything else is an impostor. Everything trying to make you feel like an imposter in your own fucking greatness is the imposter. everything trying to make you feel like you're an impostor in your own greatness is the fucking imposter. That's the fester. Okay. Visualize abundance in all forms, dreams of abundance, unlimited ideas. So, your guides, my guides, we're being invited right now to dream. And it seems so crazy, right? You're in war, spiritual warfare, like some of the most intense spiritual warfare. Your guides say, okay, it's time to dream. Dream, rest, meditate. That's what you should be doing right now. Whatever it takes. Don't listen to me. Do whatever it takes for you to connect deeper with your divine truth right now. And part of your divine truth, part of it, is that you are wealth. You are abundance. And your guides are inviting you to connect with that truth by way of visualizing, by way of dreaming, by way of tuning out from the illusions, especially as the illusions all are wanting to come at you from every angle right now and tell you that you're anything but, to try to make you an imposter in your own greatness. Fuck a bunch of that. Fuck a bunch of that. Fuck a bunch of that. Anything that's coming into your fields and trying to make you feel like you are an imposter in your own divine truth and greatness is the impostor itself. As Gomez said, an impostore. I don't know why I'm feeling the Addams Family tonight, but yes, unlimited ideas. You are plugged right back into source. If you are plugged into your divine I am truth, you are plugged back into source. You are no longer a being that is limited by the illusions and the contracts and the programs and the conditioning. You are back into your state of being unlimited, and you are being called to connect with that, because this is what is unlocking right now for you. This is what's unlocking right now for you. Any limitation that has kept you from being who you are divinely on this plane has the power to be completely shifted in these energies of the full moon, of the eclipse that's coming up in the next new moon in Aries, of the node shifting. You are reaching the place of having no more blocks and limitations placed upon your ability to be divinely who you are. And the more you tune in to the truth of that, the more you call that into your reality, the more the illusions shatter, the faster they must come down. Because remember right now, all of this that's going on isn't because they're able to stop ascension. All they can do is try to fuck with timelines and slow us down again. But the way you counteract that is you take the energy of the storm that they're throwing at you and you use that storm to push yourself to timeline jump. So they're trying to pull you back into timelines. You take that energy that they've used or they're trying to use to pull you back, you alchemize it and you use it to push you forward. And then you trap them in the very timelines they tried to trap you in. Okay? So that's where I'm going to leave you. It's an hour and 22 minutes in. I hope this reading was clear. Downloads, rather, were clear, insightful. I hope that they helped you tonight. I hope they've given you hope. I hope they've confirmed some of the things you were picking up on. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you would like to donate to the channel, whether in debt or you'd like to donate to the growth of the channel, or you'd like to donate to me as a thank you, however you want to exchange energy monetarily, you can do so through my PayPal, which is listed below. Or if you would like to purchase a deck for me in the channel, you can do so by way of my wish list below. If you'd like to work with me, all information for my website is below. You can feel free to email me once you've decided on what service you want to choose. I have been playing around on my website a little bit. I still have a lot of stuff to do in that area, but please feel free to go there and check out my services, and then you can email me when you decide. Okay, so I'm sending you guys so much love. Like I said to you before, I'm going to be laying low around this full moon. I have things to do for myself to end a karmic cycle, but I'm sending you guys so much love. so much joy, so much beauty, every wonderful, wondrous thing under the sun that in all truth is already and always has been divinely yours. But now you get to take it back because you remembered who the fuck you are. Okay? It's 2:22 on my clock. It's the perfect time to sign off. Until next time, be well.